All right, so I'm going to talk about a few things. It's a little advanced flat earth stuff. But the southern hemisphere, it doesn't make sense on a globe. Captain Cook attempted to circumnavigate Antarctica waters back in the 1770s. He was trying to sail around at about 60 degrees south latitude, near Antarctica. Now, if you do the math on a globe, the circumference at that latitude should be about 12,482 miles. Maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more, depending on exactly where he was. But Cook logged 60,000 miles. That's not a small error. That's almost 5 times the geometric calculation of 60 degrees south on a sphere. You travel 60,000 miles around something that's only 12,000 miles around, you got some explaining to do. You've got racing yachts. In northern waters, these boats average 15 to 20 knots. Same boats, often same teams, sail down southern waters and they're measuring 4 to 5 knots. And remember, knots aren't just speed. Knots are nautical miles per hour. That's a measurement against the celestial grid, against latitude lines based on star positions. The sun's analemma, that figure 8 pattern that it makes over the course of a year if you take a picture of it at the same time every day from the same location, it's larger in the southern hemisphere than the northern hemisphere. It should be the same if we're on a sphere, right? The sun's the same distance, we're the same distance from the sun. Why is the pattern so different? And then there's the routes. There's no commercial flights directly across the southern hemisphere. And there's no underwater sea cables connecting southern continents directly. Everything routes through the northern hemisphere. They'll tell you it's for economic reasons, population density, whatever. But doesn't it seem odd that technology that works perfectly in the north somehow isn't viable in the south? Now, globe defenders have explanations for each of these individually. But when you look at them together, there's a pattern. Something about the south just doesn't fit their model. And I think I know what it is. So let's talk about how navigation actually works. Historically, sailors had 3 main tools. First, the magnetic compass. This doesn't point to true north on some abstract coordinate system. It follows the electromagnetic field lines. It's literally reading the magnetic field. Second, celestial observations. They measured angles to the stars, to the sun, to figure out where they are. And this is important. When they measured speeds in knots, they were measuring how fast they could cross the latitude lines based on those star positions. Third, dead reckoning. Physically tracking how fast you're moving through water. Now, here's what's key about knots. 1 knot equals 1 nautical mile per hour, and 1 nautical mile equals 1 minute of latitude. So when you're measuring speed in knots, you're measuring against the celestial grid, not with a speedometer. So back to Captain Cook and his 60,000 miles. Even though he went up and down a little bit, that doesn't account for being 5 times longer. He's navigating by magnetic compass, right? He's trying to maintain a latitude line, sail around at 60 degrees south. But here's the thing. Magnetic field lines aren't perfect circles. If the electromagnetic field expands outward from the center point, those field lines curve significantly, especially at the southern expansion where the field is all spread out. So Cook sets a bearing. His compass follows the field line, but the field line curves back towards the magnetic center. His bearing drifts. He has to correct course. Then it drifts again, correct again, over and over. Every single correction adds distance. It's like trying to walk in a straight line on a curved surface. You end up zigzagging. His 60,000 miles wasn't navigation error. That was the actual path length following curved electromagnetic field lines that kept pulling him back towards the center. And now the yacht speeds, those boats measuring 4 to 5 knots in the south, they're not physically moving slower. Remember, knots measure against the celestial grid, how fast you cross latitude lines based on star positions. So if the electromagnetic field is expanded in the south, each degree of latitude represents more physical distance. The grid is stretched. The same boat speed covers fewer nautical miles per hour because the grid itself is a different density. Think about it like running on two different treadmills. The first treadmill marks every 1 foot. You run at a steady pace. You pass 20 marks per minute. The second treadmill has marks every 4 feet. Same running speed, but now you only pass 5 marks per minute. Your speed didn't change. The measurement grid changed. The northern compressed field, tighter grid spacing, higher knots. The southern expanded field, stretched grid spacing, lower knots. Same physical boat speed, different measurements against a non-uniform celestial grid. Navigation records preserve all of this evidence. Curved field lines, non-uniform grid spacing, the longer distances, the constant corrections, the speed differences. It's all there in the logs, but nobody noticed because we stopped using magnetic and celestial navigation. We switched to GPS, and GPS hides all of this. They show you a globe on the user interface. They talk about satellites orbiting spherical Earth, but look at what GPS actually calculates with. GPS doesn't use latitude and longitude for its math. Internally, it uses something called ECEF, Earth-centered, Earth-fixed coordinates. That's Cartesian, XYZ, flat plane coordinates from a reference point. Or UTM, which is Universal Transverse Mercator. That's literally grid zones on a flat plane. All the actual calculations, flat trigonometry, planar geometry. When you see 40.7 degrees north, 74.0 degrees west on your phone, that's a translation for humans. The system is actually working with X colon 1,334,718 meters, Y colon negative 4 million blah 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 meters, Z colon 4 million blah 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 meters. Those are planar Cartesian coordinates. GPS navigation uses two fundamental references, meridian and zenith. They'll tell you a meridian is a great circle through the poles of a sphere. But look at how it's actually used in calculations as a straight line projection on a flat plane from north to south. Every navigation formula treats it as a flat reference line. Zenith, they say it's perpendicular to the curved Earth's surface. But if that were true, everyone's zenith would point in a different direction. Everyone's up would be radial from the center of a sphere. But Polaris stays fixed for all northern observers. Same star, same position, everyone looking up sees it in the same spot. Because zenith isn't radial from a sphere. It's perpendicular to a flat reference plane. That's why it's consistent, and that's why they need to put you on a flat plane to do celestial navigation. Don't take my word for it. Look at what pilots actually use. Aviation charts, flat planes with grid lines, not curved sections of a globe, flat projections, because that's what works for navigation. Maritime charts, same thing. Flat planes with meridians drawn as parallel lines, all planar coordinates, flat trigonometry, consistent vertical reference. The funny thing is they could show flight paths on flat maps. They choose to show curved lines on globes in airline magazines. That's visual presentation, not the calculation method. GPS proves that planar coordinates work perfectly for navigation, and that's exactly what you'd expect if you're on a toroidal electromagnetic dielectric field structure that projects onto a plane. The globe is just the visualization they chose. The math is flat. So what if reality is different than what we've been told? What if Earth isn't a mechanical sphere and it's not even a mechanical flat disk either? What if it's an electromagnetic toroidal field structure, and we're a consciousness processing that field into the reality that we experience? Picture a torus. Electromagnetic field, compressed at the center. That's the magnetic convergence point, what we call north. The field expands outward toward the periphery, that's south. As the field expands, the field lines curve, and this whole structure projects onto a navigation plane. This explains everything that we've talked about. Captain Cook's 60,000 miles, curved field lines at the southern expansion. His magnetic compass had to follow those curves, constant corrections trying to maintain his latitude. That 5 times multiplier comes from the actual field line geometry. The field lines at the southern expansion are severely curved. They literally just make you go west and tell you that you're going south. And the analemma being bigger in the south, the expanded field stretches the apparent motion. The sun's making the same path, but through expanded field geometry. It appears larger. Compressed north, smaller apparent motion. GPS using planar coordinates, that's because it's accurately mapping a toroidal electromagnetic field that projects onto a plane. The meridian and zenith work as references because the field is planar in its projection. The globe visualization is misdirection from what the math actually describes. So, I know you want to be on the show. But here's the profound part. When you look south, you're looking into an expanded field. When you look north, you're looking into a compressed field. You can observe the effects, the analemma size, the navigation challenges. But when you travel to these locations, you expand or compress with the field. That's time dilation. That's the real special relativity. In this system, everything scales together. Your body, your measuring tools, the atoms that make up those tools, even the light wavelengths. From inside the field, you can't detect the scaling because you're part of what's actually scaling. We're inside the electromagnetic field. You can't observe it from the outside, but we can see those effects. Navigation distances, speed measurements, the celestial phenomena like the analemma pattern, how it's larger in the south than in the north, from both the north and the south. These reveal the field structure that we're embedded in, even though we can't directly perceive our own scaling. And this is why we can't make a perfect map. Every map projection distorts something. Globe projection shrinks the southern land masses because it's the wrong model. Azimuthal projections distort the edges because they're center-based. The square and stationary map creates what looks like a wall in the south, and it comes down from the north, but that's just the projection boundary where 2D representations break down. They all fail because they're trying to project a 3-dimensional toroidal electromagnetic structure onto a 2-dimensional plane. It cannot be done perfectly. The best map depends on what you want to preserve. Equal areas, equal distances, equal angles, but no 2D map can capture this reality completely. This isn't just about the shape of the Earth. This is about the nature of reality itself. There are 2 completely different cosmologies here, 2 different ways of understanding what you are and where you are. Globe Earth cosmology teaches you that you're on a rock spinning through empty vacuum of space. You're an insignificant speck in a vast mechanical universe. Matter is primary. Consciousness is just an accident that emerged from matter, and they don't know 96% of the model. You're powerless, and you're a passenger on a random planet. Your survival depends on external systems, external authorities, external resources. Electromagnetic reality teaches something completely different. Your consciousness processing electromagnetic waves. You're a central antenna in this coordinate system. Consciousness is primary. Matter is what gets projected when consciousness processes the electromagnetic field. You're not a passenger. You're a creative force generating your own experience. And everything you actually need is already within you. When I say we are the light, I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean it literally. You are an electromagnetic antenna processing light waves into the experience of matter. The solid objects you experience aren't fundamental reality. They're your consciousness processing the electromagnetic field waves into an interface you can navigate, like a video game. The pixels are real, the processing is real, the experienced world is generated by that interaction. But the objects in the game aren't solid physical things, they're information patterns. A year ago I made a post. I said, within thyself all things are possible. Everything you think you need that costs money is manufactured desire. They need us to need them, so they create the illusion that we need the things that turn them a profit. Now, I understand why they hide the electromagnetic reality, but that doesn't mean I have to agree with it. If you knew that you're an electromagnetic antenna processing infinite waves into experience, that you're connected directly to the source field, that you're a self-contained creative force, that you're already whole and already complete, you wouldn't need their systems. You wouldn't need their products. You wouldn't need their authorities. You wouldn't need their validation. You wouldn't need their control. You would be free, and free can't be controlled. This is why the goal of the agenda is to make you think you're free and distract everyone from themselves. Keep your attention pointed outward, looking for answers outside yourself, seeking validation outside yourself, finding meaning outside yourself, deriving your worth from outside yourself. And I just did a full series on that. Because if you ever turned your attention inward and sustained it long enough, you would discover that you don't need most of what you think you need. You already have most of what you actually need. They don't put us on a globe to hide Earth's shape. They put us on a globe to hide your nature. You're not a passenger on a rock. You're an antenna processing reality itself. And the second you remember that, their control is over. And I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm showing you evidence that doesn't fit their model. Curved magnetic field lines, non-uniform celestial grids, planar GPS coordinates, toroidal electromagnetic field structure. And I'm asking you, why hide this? Why does revealing electromagnetic reality threaten the controllers? Maybe it threatens nothing except the illusion that you're powerless. Maybe you are not powerless. Within thyself, all things are possible. Not within their systems, within yourself. So seek within, and you will find that everything that you've been looking for outside is inside you, and it's been there this entire time.